Hello, Tom.
Good afternoon.
I was gonna leave it recording because I don't want to forget to turn it on again. Hoping this will be a short one today.
Looks like it will be. If it's just you and me.
Well, Mike Summer did email yesterday to see if we were meeting today, so I'm hoping he's keeping his eye. Because I didn't see that email till just now. Um, Hello, Bob. Hello, Tom. Just gonna give it another couple minutes, just in case maybe we get Mike joining us. I know he reached out to see if we were meeting today.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Beauty. All right, I'm here. I am going to be making lunch right now, so I'm going to step away for a second or two and plug my computer in as well.
Bob, have you heard from Mark at all? I haven't heard from him since before last meeting. And you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I haven't heard from Mark Subsec in a while about that. I know he has a number of health issues too,
All right.
so. Actually, we're supposed to get together, Mark and I, next week.
Okay.
So we have a few things to go over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in rereading the Axiom and the CCI RFIs, I mean, to me, they're boilerplate.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time to maybe we invite them over one at a time to sit down. And let's get granular with this.
All right. Well,
And it probably wouldn't hurt to have somebody from MCA with us or zoom on in.
mhm. Well, I don't know if we're going to get anybody else today, so we'll just start off down the agenda. We've only got 4, so we can't really do minutes again, but next thing on the, if we do get another person, we can go back to the minutes. So let me just bring up. So on item D, update of action steps from prior meeting. Call to order. May as well put that in there. Ooh, who do we have? Mike. Mike is with us. How you doing, Mike?
I think he might be muted too.
He's a little muted right now, but we'll give him a second to get in here.
Hmm.
You with us, Mike? If you're talking, we can't hear you, though it does show you as unmuted.
Hmm. I think I've got a sore throat.
Well, in the interim, I suppose if it's acceptable to the committee, I don't think we have any rules saying we can't accept input from chat, so Mike, if you want to weigh in, certainly feel free to put it in the chat. Somebody will read it aloud. If it's okay, we can actually look at the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes?
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay,
so Mike responded, sounds fine, working on connection.
so that's good. All right, so if that is the case, is there any objection to accepting the minutes as written?
I move to accept the minutes as
I'll
written.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mike, just customarily, I'll do an abstention for you since I know you weren't at that meeting. So. All right, just getting right into it here. Update of action steps from prior meetings, select board responses to outreach proposal. I went to meet with the Winter Harbor Select Board last Wednesday. I think it was last Wednesday. And they had one select board member show up, so the meeting didn't happen.
Mhm.
But I did leave the little brief summary of our work so far with them, with the information that we would like to move ahead and do some outreach to the communities and ask them for their blessing to do so. So I don't know when they're actually going to get to that, but hopefully that is something that will be not difficult for them to do. As I understand it, Kylie Bragdon is out of the area right now and may not be back anytime soon. So they're going to have a select board of 2 out of 3 for a little while. So it may be some challenge getting a meeting held. Then Thursday night, I attended the Gouldsboro Select Board meeting, and they were unanimous in their support of us doing outreach. So I would say at the very least, we could plan on doing some outreach event to the community that's based in Gouldsboro. And if people from Winter Harbor want to show up, they're certainly welcome to do so. That's just my thought on it. And I think we should, as the committee, we should decide what we want to do. And obviously, I think sooner is better than later. But
Well, I believe, Roy, next week is Winter Harbor town meeting. And I plan on attending that one.
okay,
So we'll try to get an update and ask for the support for community outreach.
yeah. And to my mind, if we could maybe have something at the community center in Gouldsboro one night, and then maybe do something. I don't think it necessarily needs to be in the gym in Winter Harbor. I don't know how much turnout we would get, but maybe the meeting room at the Winter Harbor town office. I don't know what's the best meeting place in Winter Harbor, but would that make sense to people, the community center in Gouldsboro and one of those locations for Winter Harbor?
I think the meeting room in Winter Harbor would be good.
I think it's nice and climate controlled, especially for the winter. We don't want to have everybody freezing. That would just make for a really short meeting.
I agree. I agree.
But I don't know about the community center, but I don't feel like the town office in Gouldsboro is an appropriate place to have a larger gathering.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it's kind of cramped.
So. Now, obviously, we don't want to miss out on an opportunity for a round of funding if we don't have to. So yes, this is not a great time of year to have a big gathering for people, but we should probably try and move on it reasonably quickly. Agreed?
I completely agree. We don't want to be piled up behind a group of people waiting for a log jam to break, so.
Even if there is more funding coming down the pipeline, the sooner we're in that pipeline, the better off we'll be.
Yep.
And it doesn't need to be anything, I think, tremendously detailed, the information that we present. I think it'll be, again, a little bit of a summary of the work we've done so far. And I think a little bit more of an overview, and maybe this is something we work on here over the next month, just to try and put the big picture of the responses that we've gotten so far, not necessarily the details, but just showcasing the different options that sort of are ahead of us right now. So the consolidated, the Axiom path, and potentially the separate municipally owned path, just to have those three, since those seem to be the ones that are most readily available to us. Does that make sense? And just see what people in the community are feeling in regards to that.
Is Rhiannon available? So I'd like to get her feedback on the survey for Gouldsboro as well as Winter Harbor.
Yeah, I've reached out to Rhiannon, and she did put her her availability in the document. We can go over that a little bit later, but her class schedule is really what's prohibiting her from joining these meetings right now at the present time. So, so that's something that we I think we definitely want to look at
Okay.
as we get down towards the end of this meeting. But so would you like to try to do at least a Gouldsboro meeting before sometime in the next month, within the next 4 weeks?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll come down with you and present a unified front.
Okay. So then we'll need to reach out to the town office and find out about the scheduling, and certainly if they want to charge us for the use of the space, I don't know what that comes to, but I think we probably still got plenty of funds left in the account over in Gouldsboro to cover it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'd be a worthy use of the space. And then we have to push the information out, which maybe this is more of a Sandy type of a thing than me. It'd be good to get the news of the event into the newsletters. So I don't know. That's something I'm gonna start making notes here. I can reach out to I'm gonna be at the town office today, so I can ask.
Just talking out loud here, just thinking about it, but since we combine this process with the two towns, would it make sense to just have an outreach meeting with both towns at at the same time? Rather than to make it look like we're, going one way or the other?
Well, I'm thinking personally, just that we have two meetings, one in each town, just to which community members from both towns would be welcome to attend,
Mm-hmm.
but just to bring it locally to each of those towns. So each town feels like they get a fair shake, and that we're not leaning toward one side or another. To me, and also, you might have a scenario where people might not be able to make one, but if we do a different date, different weekday, different time, they
Mhm.
might be able to make a second one, just to also increase the availability there. That's my thinking on the two meetings.
Oh, I think that makes sense.
And certainly it'd be the same information presented at both meetings. It wouldn't be tailored one way or another. It would just be trying to get as much engagement as possible at this stage.
Mm.
So I'm going to be at the Gouldsboro Town Office today, and I will ask about the newsletter, when their next newsletter is going out. And so maybe we should just plan our first meeting around, a little bit after the next newsletter, because that might be the easiest way to push out a lot of information. I doubt we have enough of a Facebook presence to really connect to a lot of people, or through other means, unless anybody has other thoughts on that.
I like the idea of having it in the town newsletter.
Mhm.
I mean, everybody gets it, everybody reads it, and perhaps maybe a blurb in the Ellsworth American.
Okay.
Number of folks read that, so.
I've never done one of those specifically before, but if anybody has, let me know. Otherwise, I can probably reach out to somebody.
I think Sandy has done that.
Okay. One of those sort of like the, going on around town column, something like that.
So yeah, something about community. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then also I have any other questions or thoughts on the outreach plan for the immediate future?
No, nothing here.
All right, I did get a response because I did pass the questions that we did have along to to Axiom and to Consolidated. Consolidated responded, said they are working on responding. They haven't responded yet. Axiom did respond. And that question was about, in their proposal or in their response, they said how it would be prohibitively costly to add to the network once construction was completed. I can email this to the group as well. For whatever reason, it went just to me.
Well, Roy, with respect to adding to the network, are you talking about building out further?
Well, see, that was part of the question. That was what their response was. Didn't say whether they were adding new customers in already served areas to the network, or pushing out the network to previously unserved areas. And that was sort of what my question was. Because to me, those are very different things.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And he said, having your project scope fully funded upfront is the way to maximize efficiency in construction. Remobilizing construction assets to build in a phase has not been a winning strategy. So I think he took the question to mean expanding from one area to the next over time. But long and short, they say once construction is over and all have gone home, leaving you with a world-class broadband system, we charge $299 for an install in almost all cases, with some exceptions for more difficult locations, like a 2-mile long driveway, he says. So he said he could say that 299 is prohibitively expensive to be hooked up in the future, but maybe it's not. So that was one question. And then the other question was about the splitting in the field, which was something that Dan Sullivan, not Dan Sullivan, but his counterpart from Pioneer Broadband had said to avoid splitting in the field. And basically, Mark from Axiom said there are two models you can do. There's the centralized split, which is what Pioneer advocates, where there's a fiber run from every home directly to the central office or to the cabinet, wherever they collect. And then distributive split basically will take the single fiber run and then divide it up among a couple different or a few different households, taking it to a cabinet and then back to the central office. So Mark says generally the centralized split increases the cost of the actual fiber by about 30%. So that's certainly not nothing, but he says, given the trend to improve capacity and bandwidth over fiber historically, they see a 1-to-8 split at the CO as being the way they typically design it, and they didn't see any clear advantage one way or the other for longevity. He did say it's easier to upgrade hardware when it's all centralized, when there's no splitting in the field, which makes sense.
Right, if you do distributed, I mean, that's going to increase latency.
Right.
I mean, yeah, an extra 5-10 milliseconds of latency perhaps, but
Yeah.
nevertheless. So,
Yeah.
and there's more components that you have in there, more can
Right.
break.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think in the optimal situation, the centralized where there's no splits in the fields is the best way to go. But if it becomes a matter of, you know, if we've got funding for X amount and we can get a project the split way in the field, that's still going to be a very good network, or no project at all because we can't afford to go the other way. I'd still take I think Axiom's proposal is not bad. The consolidated split was different. Axiom says 1-to-8, and I think consolidated said 1-to-32, if I recall. So that suggests to me that consolidated might be splitting it further.
Yeah,
So I don't know, but that's just to give you an update on their
Well,
responses.
well, with the 1-to-32, it's I hate to say it, but the cheap SOBs, you know?
Yeah,
Honestly, you know, they're trying to maximize subscriber base. The other one, Axiom, seems to have like they've done some capacity planning,
right.
and I would be more in line to go with that 1-and-8
Right.
on it. I mean, you know, fiber is not that expensive. 10 years ago, fiber was awfully expensive.
Mhm.
It's not expensive now. It's like coax.
Yeah. And that's why I said at the last meeting, I think if we end up going with a project where we're not going to have any ownership over the network, we're just trying to get broadband, we're trying to get fiber in this area right now for the
Mhm.
best price. I think, I'd be okay with Consolidated certainly as at least a last resort. Because it does get a lot of us, it gets the area served. There's actually one omission that I just picked up after that meeting.
Mhm.
Goldsboro Point was not on their proposal.
That's
Goldsboro,
interesting.
Goldsboro Point Road, because, and I suspect because it starts in township, what, 7 is it? It doesn't start in Goldsboro, but it was not included on their proposal on their map. So,
They should be serving that area anyway.
oh, they do serve it, but they did not include it in their proposal, and I don't think it was in the address list either. I
Hmm.
could be wrong, but definitely
Oh.
wasn't on their map.
Okay.
So that's something that we need to, when we get to the proposal stage, we need to make clear that that's also a part of it.
Sure. Yep.
Another big point between the two is the off-ramps, right? Axiom was 4 years and the Consolidated was 12. They would own everything.
I actually didn't see off ramps when I read, or that I recognized in the Consolidated proposal. I know they said that they'll build it for us, but if we own it, then they have that 20-year exclusive contract. But I didn't see off ramps in their proposal. Maybe I just didn't read it closely enough. But yeah, I think the Axiom is the more flexible response, certainly, and they've certainly said, well, in his response, they said, we'll build the system however you want it built. It's just that's I think they're going to be the more flexible partner. I feel like Consolidated is probably, we know how to do it, and if you want us to do it, we'll do it, and you're going to be happy with it. And that's sort of how the big companies have been historically. And maybe I'm wrong, and it'd be nice to be wrong.
Well, they've taken the Lek attitude in that regard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's either my way or that's the way we do it, period.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So that's really all I had on the response, and certainly I'll pass along Consolidated if they do come back with the response to the questions we had sent to them.
Hmm.
I don't have anything else on Gouldsboro or Winter Harbor specifically. Survey data updates, we can probably, again, I'll send another nudge to Rhiannon to see if we can get a final report out on the survey data.
uh-huh. And I'll call Winter Harbor to see when their meeting is.
Okay. Information gathering, this is just an FYI, and Mike, you were a part of this meeting, as I recall. Sandy and I and Mike were at a meeting with the Maine Connectivity Authority. Kendra was there. I don't remember if Thomas Noonan was there or not, but with their consultants, basically, and it went over a little bit of the sort of an overview of what the scope of work, and just getting a little bit of more information from us. They also encouraged, if we do want to if we do ultimately continue to look forward with Consolidated, that it might be to our advantage to engage with other towns in the area that are semi-contiguous with our area. For example, I did mention Franklin because Franklin is very interested in working with other towns. And Franklin already, the fiber runs that serve Eastbrook, and there appear to be 2 of them, run through Franklin to get to Eastbrook. So they pulled up the map and it had those two runs right on there and said, yeah, Franklin looks like a really easy place to expand for Consolidated. So
Mhm.
it might be the case if we do end up going that route, or thinking that that's a route that we might go, that we should work sort of in tandem with Franklin to perhaps get a bigger, better project somehow, some way. Just throwing that out there. And I do wish Sandy was here because she would probably have more to say on that meeting, but that was a Zoom meeting a few weeks back. Mike, did you have anything you wanted to add about that meeting? Okay. So yeah, public outreach event, we'll work on that. And we'll probably just communicate over email what the results are, what the timeline is, talk about getting stuff into the newsletter, and we'll go from there.
Mhm.
The next meeting time I have in question mark because let me hide my meeting controls here. So is that everybody seen the committee member meeting time availability?
No, I didn't see that.
Is it still showing the agenda?
Hold on.
I can see it.
Okay, good.
Okay, yeah, now we pulled it up. Yep.
So this is just what people reported back on. Now, I can take out my Franklin budget meetings because that's done. And Franklin broadband is also, that's still ongoing. So I know the concern was that town office people or select board or whoever it was at the town level wanted to get involved, couldn't do an early afternoon scheduled meeting time. So that is something we should keep in mind. It looks like most people are able to do a little bit later in the afternoon. Rhiannon's availability starts at 3 o'clock on a Friday, but I don't know anybody that wants to meet on a Friday. That's just my personal experience.
Mhm.
Otherwise, her availability starts at 4. Now, Tom Lloyd, 9 to 4 works for you. So it looks like we don't have a lot of great options to get everybody on the same page. So the question really becomes, do we just stick with what we've got because we've done it for so long and we live with it, with the people that can make it, or do we want to try for something else?
I think I'm inclined to keep it as is, since people are familiar.
Okay. Tom? Either Tom?
Are we trying to get in our our ducks in a row for the next round of funding, which I think is May?
So at ducks in a row, as in getting the paperwork in and so forth.
Right.
To me, Sandy has been more of the contact point for the likes of Kendra Joe. But I would expect that, yes, that is something that we are trying to work toward.
Should we be meeting more often?
We certainly can. I don't have an objection to that at all. If we've got the work that we need to do to be able to make that happen, then yes, I'd say there's no reason why we can't meet every other week.
Just Just bringing up a point because I mean, if we want to get in on that round of funding that's coming up next,
Mhm.
we need to get
Um,
on the ball, I guess.
Yeah. So. Other thoughts?
I'll just say I'll be as flexible as I possibly can. My only commitment is that third Tuesday of the month. I have another committee meeting, but other than that, I'll work around what works best for the committee.
Okay. And actually, I just remembered Wednesday evening is opened up for me.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'm available most nights.
Tuesday is my school board and school board committee meeting night. So I usually have meetings that time. So what about for the time being? Uh, what about 4 o'clock on Wednesday? I'll just throw that out there. Who does that does not fit generally with either of the times, but
Good for me.
that would potentially allow Rhiannon to be in there. I could certainly do 4 o'clock on Wednesday, at least until the middle of April. And it might allow people from the town office to join in and take part directly.
Yep.
Okay. So why don't we get the information about the newsletter, and we can then communicate over email and set dates that we want to try for the public outreach. And then we can see if we need another meeting prior to develop what our presentation is, go over that, and get ready for those meetings. And then we can also find out what our next steps should be with MCA.
Sure. Right. My only concern with the newsletter is
Mhm.
that usually they're printed already and ready for distributions. I mean, tomorrow's March 1st. So
And-
we may not make the March timeframe.
Yeah, and that might be unavailable for us there. So we might have to look at other options, but I will, like I said, I'll go see if that's their schedule. If it's already done, then we have to take a different tack. And I mean, worst case scenario, we find out how much money we've got left, and maybe we run a separate mailing just for that. Very easy. Because I mean, that's what that money was there for, is to do the outreach. It's there to do the planning. It's there to do all of these things. And if we have to spend a little bit to do it, I think it's time to start spending, because we're not going to sit on it forever. Does that make sense?
Yep, you got a point.
I don't know what's left in that 5,000, but I can't imagine that we've touched even the majority of it so far. 'Cause I think it was like somewhere around $60 or $80 for mailing in Winter Harbor. Maybe a little bit more than that in Gouldsboro. So. All right. Let's see. So 4 p.m. Wednesday, and we'll decide over email if we need to have a meeting before the 28th. And if we do, we'd probably say the 14th.
Yep.
All right.
That sounds good.
So we'll come to that decision once we do this other digging about newsletters and planning. All right.
Yep. All right. Sounds good.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining, and get out and enjoy the lovely weather.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Fred. You take care.
All right.
We'll see you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.